The cabin lights were dimmed to the soft amber glow meant to signal safety. Row numbers hummed quietly above the aisle. The engines whispered their constant, reassuring promise. Steady, controlled, obedient. At 34,000 feet, the aircraft moved like a thought, invisible against the black ocean of night. Most of the passengers had already surrendered to sleep. A businessman with his tie loosened and his laptop still warm. A mother holding her son close, his forehead pressed against the window. Two Marines in civilian clothes, boots unlaced, heads tilted back, muscle memory still keeping them alert even as their eyes closed. And then there was her. She moved through the aisle with a service cart, posture relaxed but precise, eyes scanning without seeming to. Her name tag read, "No rank, no wings," no indication that she had once landed a crippled F-15 on a desert strip with one engine on fire and a dead stick approach in crosswinds. Lieutenant Commander Lauren Carter, United States Navy, decorated combat pilot, instructor, and test aviator, had learned long ago how to disappear in plain sight. Tonight, disappearing was the point. She adjusted a blanket for an elderly man, offered water to a woman pretending not to be afraid of turbulence, and nodded politely to the cockpit crew as she passed the reinforced door. Behind that door sat two pilots who believed they were in control. Lauren knew better. Control was never a given. It was earned, moment by moment, through discipline and awareness. She had requested this flight assignment quietly, no explanation, no questions asked. The airline thought she was just another reserve attendant filling in on a red-eye from the West Coast to Washington, D.C. The Pentagon knew exactly who she was. That was why she was here. Naval Air Station, Patuxent River, Maryland. The briefing room smelled like burnt coffee and tension. A secure monitor displayed a route map. Red lines intersected over domestic airspace. Patterns that didn't belong. Intelligence analysts sat stiffly along the walls, hands folded, faces drawn. Lauren stood at parade rest near the door, hair pulled back tight, wearing civilian clothes that still couldn't hide military bearing. Rear Admiral Thomas Hale didn't look at her right away. 3 weeks, he said, voice low. 3 weeks of chatter. No faces, no names, just intent. He finally turned. They're testing domestic response times, aviation security, crew reactions. Lauren met his eyes, calm, focused. "And you believe this flight is the test," she said. Hale nodded. "Or worse." A younger officer spoke up. "Sir, with respect, if this goes wrong," Lauren interrupted gently, "then it goes wrong with someone on board who understands aerodynamics, cockpit procedures, hijack psychology, and how fear spreads." Silence. She wasn't volunteering for heroics. She was volunteering for responsibility. Hale exhaled slowly. "You won't be armed. You won't identify yourself unless absolutely necessary. You are a flight attendant." Lauren nodded once. That had always been her strength, not force, restraint. The seatbelt sign chimed softly. Lauren felt it before she saw it. A shift, a pressure change, not in the aircraft, but in the people. Row 22. 2 men, late 30s. One hadn't slept since boarding. The other kept checking his watch like it was counting down instead of telling time. She passed them casually, caught the glint of something under a jacket. Not metal, plastic. Improvised. Her pulse did not spike. She made eye contact with the younger Marine across the aisle, just long enough. A question, a warning. He gave the smallest nod. The first scream didn't come from them. It came from the cockpit, a muffled impact, a raised voice, the sound of a door alarm, abruptly cut. Lauren stopped the cart. Time slowed the way it always did when everything mattered. The man in row 22 stood. "Everyone stay seated." His voice was calm, rehearsed, terrifying in its certainty. The second man moved toward the cockpit. Passengers froze. Someone began to cry. Lauren raised her hands slowly, as trained, not by the airline, but by years of survival instruction. "I'm a flight attendant," she said evenly. "Tell me what you need." The man looked at her. Really looked. Not at her uniform, but at her eyes. For a fraction of a second, doubt flickered. Then he hardened. "Sit down." Lauren obeyed. But her mind was already airborne. Altitude, fuel, weight, center of gravity. And one other thing the hijackers did not yet understand. They had taken over the wrong flight. Fear does not announce itself loudly at first. It arrives in small betrayals. The tightening of fingers around armrests, the way breathing becomes shallow and uneven, the silence that spreads faster than any scream. At 34,000 feet, the cabin became a sealed container for human instinct, every emotion magnified by altitude and uncertainty. Lauren Carter felt it all, without letting any of it touch her face. The hijacker in the aisle, she labeled him Alpha, moved with rehearsed confidence, not military, too stiff, but trained enough to believe in procedure. The second, Bravo, had disappeared behind the cockpit door. That door should not have opened, which meant either coercion or inside knowledge. Lauren's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. That mattered. Captain Michael Reyes tasted blood. He didn't remember falling, only the sudden impact, the pressure against his throat, the smell of sweat and something chemical. His first officer lay slumped against the instrument panel, alive but stunned. Bravo pressed something cold and plastic against Reyes's temple. Autopilot stays engaged, Bravo said. You deviate, you die. Reyes' hands hovered inches above the controls. Years of muscle memory screamed at him to act, to correct, to stabilize, to fight, but the eyes in the reflection of the windshield told him this wasn't a fight he could win with force. "Where are we going?" Reyes asked, voice steady despite everything. Bravo smiled thinly. "You'll know when we descend." Back in the cabin. Lauren counted heartbeats. 7 seconds since Bravo entered the cockpit. That was too fast. She lowered her gaze, letting Alpha believe she was just another terrified employee. Her training told her otherwise, told her to read patterns, not words. Alpha wasn't watching the passengers. He was watching her, not with suspicion, with curiosity. That was dangerous. He gestured toward the back of the aircraft. "You, help calm them down." Lauren stood slowly. "Yes," she said. As she moved down the aisle, she caught fragments of whispered prayers, a child asking if they were going to die, the soft click of someone recording on a phone before being slapped by shaking hands. Lauren stopped beside the mother with the boy. She knelt, placing herself lower than the child's eye line. "Hey," she said softly. "What's your name?" "Eli," the boy whispered. She smiled, not the professional smile. "The real one. Eli, can you do me a favor?" He nodded. "Take deep breaths with me, in through your nose, out through your mouth, like blowing out birthday candles." He followed. So did his mother. Fear didn't vanish, but it loosened its grip. Lauren stood. Alpha watched from the front of the cabin. He liked control. She filed that away. Kandahar Airfield, Afghanistan. The desert night glowed orange under floodlights. Lauren stood beside her aircraft, flight suit streaked with oil and sand, helmet tucked under her arm. Her crew chief spoke fast, words blurring together, fuel imbalance, hydraulic issues, damage assessment. When he finished, she nodded. "Can she fly?" he asked. Lauren looked at the jet like it was a living thing. "Yes," she said. "But she's scared." The crew chief blinked. "Ma'am?" Lauren smiled faintly. "So am I." She climbed the ladder anyway. Fear had never stopped her before. The intercom crackled. Bravo's voice came through, distorted but clear. "Ladies and gentlemen, this aircraft is under new management. Follow instructions, and no one gets hurt." A sob broke the silence. Alpha began walking again, checking seatbelts, watching reactions. Lauren returned to the galley, hands steady as she pretended to organize supplies. Her mind ran simulations faster than any flight computer. 2 hijackers confirmed. Cockpit compromised. No visible firearms. Improvised devices likely meant to intimidate rather than detonate. Motivation unclear. Endgame unknown. She reached into a compartment and felt the reassuring shape of a flashlight. Heavy, solid. Not a weapon, but useful. She didn't take it. Not yet. The room buzzed with controlled chaos. Radar feeds, transcripts, red phones. Rear Admiral Hale stood rigid, eyes fixed on the screen tracking the flight. "They've deviated 5 degrees east," an analyst said. "Still within civilian corridor, for now." A civilian official cleared his throat. "We can't escalate unless they cross." Hale cut him off. "They already crossed when they breached the cockpit." The official bristled. "We're talking about shooting down a domestic aircraft?" Hale leaned forward. "We're talking about trusting the person we put on board." Silence. Lauren Carter doesn't fail, Hale said quietly. She adapts. Alpha stopped beside Lauren again. You're very calm, he said. She shrugged lightly. Training. He tilted his head. Airline training doesn't make someone like this. Lauren met his gaze. I grew up poor, she said. You learn early not to panic, not a lie, just not the truth. Alpha stared a moment longer, then moved on. Lauren exhaled slowly. He was probing, which meant time was running out. The turning point begins. The aircraft hit light turbulence, a routine bump, but Lauren felt the change in pitch, subtle, intentional. She closed her eyes for half a second. They were descending, not to a major airport, too shallow, too early. Alpha, she called softly. He turned, annoyed. The plane's descending, she said. Passengers will panic. That's not your concern. It is if you want compliance. He hesitated. Let me explain it to them, she said. In calm terms. He studied her again, then nodded. 1 minute. Lauren took the intercom. Her heart did not race. Her voice did not shake. Ladies and gentlemen, she said, we're experiencing a planned change in altitude. This is precautionary. Please remain seated. Her words settled the cabin like ballast. Alpha watched, impressed despite himself. He had just made his first mistake. He had let her lead. As Lauren handed back the intercom, Alpha leaned closer. You're not just a flight attendant, he said. Lauren didn't deny it. She simply said, neither are you. For the first time, his smile faded. The sky outside darkened further as the aircraft continued its slow, deliberate descent toward something no one had planned to see tonight. And Lauren Carter prepared for the moment when pretending would no longer be enough, because when the truth finally surfaced, it would change everything. There is a moment in every crisis when instinct overtakes fear. It is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is the quiet realization that waiting is no longer an option. Lauren Carter felt that moment settle into her bones as the aircraft descended through 28,000 feet. The air felt different, thicker, heavier, not because of altitude, but because of inevitability. Captain Reyes watched the altimeter unwind. This isn't a standard approach, he said carefully. Bravo stood behind him, eyes locked on the instruments, as if proximity alone gave him authority. You fly. I decide, Bravo replied. Reyes inhaled slowly through his nose. Years earlier, a Navy instructor had told him something he'd never forgotten. The most dangerous person in an aircraft isn't the one with a weapon. It's the one who thinks he understands the plane. Bravo thought he understood. He didn't. Reyes spoke again. If you're taking us where I think you are, you'll need a steeper descent. Terrain interference. Bravo hesitated. Do it, he said. Reyes complied. Barely. And in that hesitation, he knew. This wasn't a suicide mission. This was extraction. Someone on the ground was expecting them. Cabin. The decision Lauren moved toward the aft galley. Every step measured. Alpha followed. You going somewhere? He asked. She turned, hands visible. Lavatory. People panic when they can't breathe and can't go to the bathroom. He smirked. 30 seconds. Lauren nodded and stepped into the galley. The door slid shut behind her. She leaned against the counter, eyes closed, not in fear, but focus. This is it. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a folded card. Not an ID. A challenge coin, navy blue, silver edge. Wings etched into metal, worn smooth by time. She hadn't planned to use it, but plans, like aircraft, failed under pressure. She stepped back into the aisle. Alpha's eyes went immediately to the coin. What's that? He asked. Lauren held it up. Her voice was calm. I've landed jets in combat zones under fire. I've trained pilots who now fly missions you read about in redacted reports. And if you don't want this aircraft to become your coffin, you will listen to me. Silence hit the cabin like a shockwave. Passengers stared. Alpha laughed once, sharp, disbelieving. You expect me to believe? Lauren took a step forward. Not aggressive, authoritative. Your partner doesn't know how to manage fuel burn during asymmetric descent, she said. You're heading toward a private strip near the Appalachians, and the man you're delivering this plane to has no intention of paying you. Alpha's smile vanished. How? Because I've planned missions like this, she said. And because people like you always think you're the smartest ones in the sky. The cabin was no longer afraid. It was listening. Lauren was 24 when she first crashed a jet. Night operation. Carrier approach. Rough seas. She remembered the alarms, the way her hands moved before her mind caught up. She remembered ejecting, how the ocean swallowed sound and left her alone with the consequences. In the water, waiting for rescue, she'd learned something important. Survival wasn't about control. It was about clarity. Alpha's hand twitched toward his jacket. Lauren didn't flinch. "If you pull that," she said, "everyone dies, including you." His jaw clenched. "You're bluffing." Lauren shook her head. "I don't bluff in aircraft." Behind them, one of the Marines stood, slowly, deliberately. "I'll back her," he said. Another passenger rose, then another. Fear shifted. It changed shape. Alpha took a step back. "This wasn't the deal," he muttered. "No," Lauren agreed. "It never is." Lauren knocked on the cockpit door, 3 firm taps. Bravo turned, startled. She stepped inside before he could object. Captain Reyes looked at her and saw it instantly. Not the uniform, the bearing. "Lieutenant Commander," he said without thinking. Bravo spun. "What did you call her?" Lauren met Bravo's eyes. "I'm the only reason this plane is still airborne." Bravo lunged. He didn't make it far. Reyes slammed the yoke sideways while Lauren moved in one smooth motion, disarming, redirecting, controlling, years of training compressed into seconds. Bravo hit the deck hard, breathing, but finished. Radar operators watched the aircraft level out. "Descent stopped," someone said. Rear Admiral Hale closed his eyes briefly. "She's in," he said. A civilian official whispered, "Thank God." Hale opened his eyes. "No," he corrected. "Thank her." Lauren took the captain's seat, hands on the controls. The aircraft responded instantly. Like it recognized her, she keyed the mic. "This is Lieutenant Commander Lauren Carter, U.S. Navy," she said calmly. "Cockpit secure. Request immediate escort." A pause. Then, "Roger, Commander. We have you." The cabin erupted, not in cheers, but in relief. Quiet, sacred. Lauren guided the aircraft back into controlled airspace. She didn't smile. Not yet, because the hardest part of any mission wasn't the fight. It was what came after. The sky did not forgive mistakes. At 30,000 feet, there were no second chances. Only margins, procedures, and the discipline to stay inside both. Lauren Carter kept the aircraft steady as the first pair of escort fighters slid into view off the left wing. Their navigation lights blinked in coded reassurance, green and white against the blackness. She didn't look at them for long. Pilots never did. You acknowledged support, but you flew your own aircraft. Captain Reyes flexed his hands, still shaking slightly. "Never thought I'd say this," he said, voice low. "But I'm glad you were on beverage duty tonight." Lauren allowed herself a thin smile. "Sir, you flew the jet?" she replied. "I just borrowed it." Behind them, Bravo was zip-tied and secured, seated rigidly on the jump seat. He stared at Lauren not with anger, but something closer to disbelief. "You ruined everything," he muttered. Lauren didn't turn around. "No," she said. "I stopped you from ruining innocent lives. Whatever you thought this was, it was never going to end the way you imagined." Bravo laughed hollowly. "You think this ends clean?" Lauren finally faced him. "I think it ends right." No one spoke above a whisper. Strangers held hands. The mother stroked Eli's hair as he slept, exhaustion overtaking fear. The 2 Marines stood near the forward bulkhead, silent sentinels. Lauren stepped out briefly to address the passengers, her voice carried, not loud, but certain. "We're being escorted to a secure military installation. You're safe. You did exactly what you needed to do." A man near the window stood. "Ma'am," he said, choking up. "Thank you." Others nodded. No applause. This wasn't a movie. This was something heavier. Something real. Lauren returned to the cockpit. She had work to finish. Secure Operations Center, Pentagon. The mood had shifted from panic to calculation. "That strip they were heading toward," an intelligence officer said, pulling up imagery. "It's owned by a shell company, 3 layers deep." A civilian advisor frowned. "You're saying this wasn't just terrorism?" Rear Admiral Hale crossed his arms. "I'm saying it was a test run, a proof of concept. Someone wanted to know if they could quietly redirect a commercial aircraft without triggering national response." The advisor swallowed. "And now?" Hale's voice hardened. "Now they know they can't. The runway appeared as a strip of light carved out of darkness. Lauren adjusted her descent rate, hands light on the controls. The jet responded smoothly, obediently, like it trusted her. She trusted it back. "Wind's calm," Reyes said. "You've got it." Lauren nodded. She always did better at night. Less noise, more truth. The wheels touched down with a firm professional landing, no bounce, no drama. As the aircraft slowed, armored vehicles rolled into position. Floodlights ignited the tarmac in harsh white clarity. Lauren exhaled for the first time in hours. Bravo was escorted off first. As he passed Lauren, he paused. "You think you won," he said quietly, "but you just exposed something bigger than you." Lauren met his eyes. "Then it's my duty to expose it further." He said nothing after that. Alpha was removed next, silent, broken, no longer in control of anything. The passengers disembarked slowly, wrapped in blankets, guided by medics and security. Lauren stayed until the aircraft was empty. Always finish the mission. The sun rose pale and indifferent over the airfield. Lauren stood near the hangar, hands clasped behind her back, flight attendant uniform still crisp despite everything. Rear Admiral Hale approached. "You saved 212 lives," he said. "And possibly more." Lauren didn't respond. Hale continued. "There will be hearings, questions, people who don't like what you interrupted." Lauren finally spoke. "Sir, with respect, truth has inertia. Once it's moving, it's hard to stop." Hale smiled faintly. "That's why we train people like you." A civilian official approached, clipboard in hand. "We'd prefer to keep your involvement understated," he said carefully. "Public narrative, airline heroics, crew professionalism." Lauren understood. Politics always wanted quiet endings. She looked past him, to the passengers boarding buses, to the mother lifting Eli into her arms. "Do what you need to do," she said. "Just don't lie about what happened." The official hesitated, then nodded. Later that morning, Lauren stood in a locker room, folding the flight attendant uniform carefully. She placed it into a bag. Then she pulled her navy blues from another locker. She dressed slowly, methodically. When she pinned her wings back onto her chest, the weight felt familiar. Right. Lauren stepped outside into full daylight. The crisis was over, but the lesson remained that courage didn't always wear rank, that authority came from competence, not force, that the quiet professional, the one no one notices, often carries the heaviest responsibility. She walked toward her next briefing. No cameras, no applause, just purpose. Some heroes announce themselves, others wait. They serve unnoticed, prepared not for glory, but for the moment when everything depends on calm hands and a steady heart. When fear hijacks the world, it is discipline that brings it home. And sometimes the most powerful person in the sky is the one everyone thought was just passing out drinks. True strength doesn't demand attention. It reveals itself when fear takes control, and someone chooses courage anyway.